Everyone in the Formula 1 world is now looking ahead to the 2021 season. There are predictions of 2021 driver lineups and performances everywhere you look. However, I've set my sights a little further along to the future into the year 2025. It's just 5 short years away, and the rapid growth of young driver programs and exit of many seasoned F1 stalwarts will tip the sport into a fantastic transition period. This is, however, based on my opinion. You may not agree with my selections, and remember this isn't certain by any means, it's simply a fun way to speculate about the future of the sport. Before we begin, I'd just like to give a brief shout out to a YouTuber called AS19. He runs a great channel on the various Formula 1 feeder series, and was a major help in the inspiration and making of this video. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description and his own 2025 predictions video in the end card as usual. Right, with the intro done, let's get down to business. We start this prediction video with the Mercedes-AMG Formula 1 team. The Silver Arrows have long been a dominant force in the turbo hybrid era, winning every single Constructors' Championship, but I predict they'll have a much closer battle with the new regulations set to be introduced in 2022. The first driver is, to nobody's surprise, George Russell. Russell is one of the defining young talents in Formula 1 today, and with Valtteri Bottas' recent poor performances in the second Mercedes seat, I think Russell will replace Bottas in 2022. He'll be an immediate front runner, and I think he'll beat Lewis Hamilton to the title in 2022, after which Lewis will retire from Formula 1 as the greatest of all time. I can see Russell as a world champion by 2025, maybe even twice over. He's got an incredible career ahead of him. The second seat may surprise you, but I think Max Verstappen will be in the other Mercedes by 2025. It very much depends on whether Red Bull can close up to Mercedes under the new regulations. If not, then Verstappen may defect to Mercedes after the end of his Red Bull contract in 2023. Verstappen was already in talks with Mercedes in 2014 about a possible reserve or test driver role, but as we know, he began his long-standing career with Red Bull instead. Mercedes continuing to outperform Red Bull may just be the excuse Verstappen needs to blow the dust off his relationship with the German team and compete for the World Championship he deserves in 2025. Red Bull are an incredibly contentious case, infamous for being a team that changes driver lineups often and kills many prospective Formula 1 careers. With the departure of Max Verstappen, Red Bull will lose their long-term driver and will be desperate for another prodigy in the making to bring them back to the glory of the early 2010s. For 2025, the lead driver in Red Bull's hierarchy is none other than Yuki Tsunoda. The Japanese racer was well known for his fast-tracked rise through the motorsport ladder, from Japanese Formula 4 in 2018 to a Formula 1 drive with AlphaTauri in 2021. Tsunoda has proven his talent with 3 wins in his rookie Formula 2 season and some impressive overtaking and tyre management skills. He will certainly impress at AlphaTauri in 2021 and will end up replacing Sergio Perez in 2022 if the Mexican driver doesn't perform. When Verstappen leaves to Mercedes in 2024, Tsunoda will be Red Bull's lead driver, and I think he'll certainly live up to the hype. Tsunoda will be a driver with several wins to his name by 2025, and I think he'll be a hot favourite for a Drivers' Championship in the near future. Red Bull's notorious second seat will be taken by Jüri Vips in 2025. The Estonian is due to contest the Formula 2 Championship in 2021 with High-Tech Grand Prix, and has an impressive list of Junior Series finishes on his resume already, with a 2017 ADAC Formula 4 Championship and 3 Formula 3 wins under his belt, plus an impressive podium as a reserve driver for Dams in the 2020 Formula 2 Championship. After 2 seasons in Formula 2, he'll race with AlphaTauri for the 2023 season, before being fast-tracked to the second Red Bull seat for 2024. By 2025, I think Vips will be a successful second driver to Yuki Tsunoda, with several podiums and perhaps even a win or 2, but as always with the second Red Bull seat, murmurings of an AlphaTauri driver replacing him will never be far away. The McLaren lineup is perhaps my easiest prediction yet. Call me boring, but personally, I think the chaps from Woking will be employing an if it ain't broke, don't fix it strategy, and will retain both their 2021 confirmed drivers for 2025. Lando Norris, as McLaren's long-term prospect, will be lead driver for the 2025 season. As McLaren continues to improve, he'll improve with them. He'll be a regular sight on the podium in the next few years, and with McLaren's meteoric rise to redemption in the past few years continuing, I suspect he'll be winning his first race before too long. After being outperformed by Ricciardo at first, he'll be faster than his older teammate in a few years. Lando has the talent to reinforce McLaren's rise up the ranks, and in 2025 he'll have certainly fulfilled that expectation. Daniel Ricciardo will be in McLaren's experienced pair of hands by 2025. The friendly and familial atmosphere at McLaren will bolster his chances of signing a continued long-term deal. He'll be 36 years old by then, and his skills will have faded slightly, as all aging drivers inevitably do. Despite outperforming Norris in the first couple of years of their partnership, and perhaps even winning races, Ricciardo's mentorship of the Briton has taught him well, and Norris will be the faster of the two by 2025. As long as he enjoys himself, the Honey Badger will probably stick around for a few more years to come. If not, well, Ricciardo could be considering hanging up his helmet after a 15-year career. Aston Martin, formerly known as Racing Point, will be one of the most hotly anticipated teams of the next few years. Coming off a solid foundation of Racing Point's Mercedes links and technical expertise, Aston Martin will be a leading midfield runner by the 2025 season. The first driver signing for Aston Martin will come as a surprise to approximately nobody. Canadian driver Lance Stroll, son of billionaire and team owner Lawrence Stroll, will remain a long-term driver in the Aston Martin seat. His family connections and position as the son of the team's owner may be a defining factor in his position within Aston Martin, but personally I believe Stroll is certainly good enough to retain his seat. His 2 podiums and a pole position in 2020 certainly puts stock behind some serious talent for the Canadian in the future. He may be widely criticised for his status as a so-called pay driver, but he does have genuine potential, and I could see him picking up more podiums and becoming a reliable performer for Aston Martin. The second Aston Martin seat, however, is perhaps my most adventurous selection in this video, with French wunderkind Théo Pourchaire driving for the team by 2025. Pourchaire stunned the establishment of Formula 3 by finishing runner-up in the 2020 Drivers' Championship, and becoming the youngest Formula 3 race winner at just 16 years and 331 days old. Pourchaire is expected to race with ART in Formula 2 in 2021, where he would doubtless succeed and move to Alfa Romeo Sauber through his connections as a member of their junior team in 2023. Ferrari will be using the Sauber seats as a sort of Ferrari junior team, however, and Pourchaire will be pushed aside. His talent won't go unnoticed though, and in a shock move, he'll replace the retiring Sebastian Vettel at the end of 2023 and go on to become one of Formula 1's most promising young drivers, frequently battling with Stroll in 2024 and 2025. The Renault team will be rebranding to Alpine for the 2021 season, resurrecting a storied name in the history of motorsport. Alpine will be at the centre of a crossroads. Renault's gradual improvement in car performance has been offset by an unwillingness to promote from the young driver academy, although I predict that will change in the next couple of years. Alpine's first driver is their Australian Junior Academy driver Oscar Piastri. Piastri won the 2020 Formula 3 Championship for Prema, beating the aforementioned Théo Pourchaire to win the title. Piastri has been confirmed to drive for reigning Formula 2 champions Prema in 2021, a move that will see him immediately in title contention, much like 2020 Prema rookie Robert Schwartzman. Depending on the strength of his results, Alpine will most likely sign Piastri to replace Fernando Alonso at the end of the Spaniard's 2-year contract. Like Norris and Tsunoda, Piastri could very well become the face of Alpine's rise to the front of the grid, helping to develop the car long-term for a secure future with the French team. The second driver prediction for Alpine is the one and only Pierre Gasly. The Frenchman has been at the heart of one of the modern era's greatest redemption stories. After losing his seat at Red Bull midway through the 2019 season, Gasly famously finished second in Brazil that year and won the 2020 Italian Grand Prix for AlphaTauri, the Red Bull junior team. Despite this run of good form, I can't see Gasly remaining in the AlphaTauri environment, waiting for a call that will never come. After his contract ends, I think Gasly might take a year out of Formula 1, like Esteban Ocon, before deciding a change of scenery is due, and joining a French team will be a welcome change of atmosphere from the oppressive and tense situation at Red Bull and AlphaTauri. Gasly's experience allows him to mentor Piastri as well as make the most of Alpine's chassis. Another win in his future? It's certainly possible. Ferrari, on the other hand, have not made the best continuation on their legacy, with their steady decline from being a championship winner peaking in 2020, where they finished 6th in the Constructors' Championship. The road to redemption for Ferrari starts here, with the team merely trying to recover their old glory over the next few years. Charles Leclerc will remain Ferrari's long-term prospect for the future. Widely regarded as one of the greatest talents in Formula 1 right now, Leclerc will continue to stay with Ferrari and outperform their cars until they eventually return to the front of the pack. By 2025, Ferrari are back in a position to challenge for podiums and wins, and Leclerc will be the driving force behind that continued improvement, helping to mentor the young Mick Schumacher in the second seat while taking a few more wins for himself in the coming seasons. As I've just mentioned, the second Ferrari seat will most likely be taken by Mick Schumacher, the 2020 Formula 2 champion, who is due to race with Haas F1 team on a multi-year contract starting in 2021. Mick will outperform the struggling Haas in 2021 and 2022, before being drafted in to replace Carlos Sainz Jr. for the 2023 season. The Schumacher name is of course written into the fabric of Formula 1, with Mick's father Michael Schumacher being one of the greatest Formula 1 drivers of all time. Mick perhaps lacks the dominant Ferrari or prodigious skill that elevated his father to a household name, but he possesses major talent regardless, and I could see him gaining podiums and maybe even his first win in the resurgent Ferrari of 2024 or 2025. AlphaTauri, previously known as Toro Rosso, had a brilliant season in 2020, with Pierre Gasly scoring their first win under the new name in the Italian Grand Prix, which was the first win for the team as a whole since 2008. Being the junior team to Red Bull Racing, we can expect to see AlphaTauri remain a consistent contender in the midfield, while nurturing some of the most talented young drivers in the sport. It's always hard to pick drivers for a constantly changing team, but I'm confident in predicting that AlphaTauri's lead driver in 2025 will be New Zealander Liam Lawson. Lawson has a pretty impressive junior career to his name, being the youngest Formula 4 champion in history, as well as runner-up in both the ADAC and Australian Formula 4 championships. In 2020, he competed in Formula 3 with High-Tech Grand Prix, winning 3 races and a pole position en route to 5th in the championship. Lawson will drive in both Formula 2 and DTM for 2021. He'll be reasonably successful in both, and following a close battle for the 2022 Formula 2 championship, he'll win the title in 2023. In 2025, he'll be entering his second season with AlphaTauri, and after constantly outperforming the car, his sights will be firmly set on taking the second Red Bull seat from Juri Vips. The second driver for AlphaTauri is another difficult pick, but Norwegian racer Dennis Hauger seems to fit the bill. After a star-studded karting career, Hauger, like Lawson, finished runner-up in ADAC Formula 4 and dominated the Italian Formula 4 Championship, winning 12 of 22 races. He drove for High-Tech in Formula 3 in 2020 alongside Liam Lawson, finishing 8th in the Hungarian feature race and placing 3rd in the sprint race to earn 14 points overall. As one of the youngest drivers on this list, Hauger will have only just turned 22 at the start of the 2025 season, and after a successful 4 years in Formula 3 and Formula 2 where he'll be in the running for titles and wins, I think Hauger could be a prime candidate for AlphaTauri's rookie seat, although time will tell if he has the skills to deliver on my predictions. Alfa Romeo Sauber have been a part of Formula 1 for years, working as an entry-level privateer team to bring rookie drivers into Formula 1, and more recently as a satellite team to Ferrari. Their recent partnership with Alfa Romeo is somewhat of a mixed bag. It provides a welcome injection of cash, but car development has stagnated recently, and I think Alfa Romeo Sauber will remain near the back of the grid for the foreseeable future. Alfa Romeo Sauber's lead driver for 2025 will be the 2019 Formula 3 champion and Formula 2 race winner Robert Schwartzman. Schwartzman certainly has the skill to win the Formula 2 title with Prema in 2021, although he will face stiff competition. If he finishes well, he will most likely replace the aging Kimi Raikkonen for 2022. However, this is where his links with Ferrari become an issue. As Mick Schumacher becomes the favoured young driver at Ferrari, Schwartzman will more than likely remain at Alfa Romeo Sauber for several seasons, unless he can navigate a shock move to a team outside of the Ferrari driver academy. He certainly has the prodigious skill necessary to outperform whatever car Sauber give him, but the congestion of talented Ferrari academy drivers may be his biggest obstacle to a great career. My prediction for the second Sauber seat is a somewhat odd one: Dino Beganovic. Beganovic is a member of the Ferrari Driver Academy, like Schwartzman, and has just finished his first season in car racing, finishing 3rd in the 2020 Italian Formula 4 Championship and taking a win and 4 podiums along the way. I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a major player in Formula 2 and 3 in the next few years. Beganovic may be young, in fact he's the youngest driver on this list and will be just 21 years old at the start of the 2025 season, but he's shown impressive talent for someone so inexperienced. Fellow Italian Formula 4 driver and 2020 champion Gabriele Mini may be a major source of competition for the seat though, and Beganovic's connection with the Ferrari Academy will help to see the Swede battle for a chance to be a Formula 1 rookie in 2025. American team Haas are the newest Formula 1 team on the current grid. having first raced in the 2016 season. The last 2 years have seen Haas slip down from the midfield to the back of the grid though, and as Ferrari have dropped dramatically in recent years, Haas as a technical partner have also suffered, with the team reported to be in dire financial straits. Providing the team even survives the next few years, I can't see them making too much progress. I've gone for a pretty controversial pick for Haas's first driver, and that's American racer Logan Sargent. Sargent's most recent championship was a drive with Prema in the 2020 Formula 3 Championship. He won 2 races and actually led the championship before bad luck and a crash ended his title hopes in the final 2 races. Despite the poor ending to his Formula 3 season, Sargent is a solid driver. Not quite world class, but he has decent potential and could be in the running for a Haas seat provided he improves his junior series results. His family's money and roles in a major shipping business could also prove a major bonus to the financially struggling Haas team. The other Haas driver will be none other than Sergio Perez. Perez has built up a successful reputation as one of the most underrated and consistent drivers on the Formula 1 grid, and his loyalty to the Force India, later Racing Point team, is certainly admirable. In one of the 2021 driver market's most dramatic reveals, Red Bull signed Sergio Perez to the team for 2022. However, he was only signed on a 1-year contract, and unfortunately for Perez, Red Bull's major focus on their driver academy may create unrealistic expectations for 2021, and I think Red Bull will replace him with Yuki Tsunoda for 2022. His major sponsorship by Mexican telecommunications companies and high level of funding place him on Haas's list for 2023, however, and given that Perez will be turning 35 before the 2025 season, it's a reasonable assumption that he will live out the last few years of his career with the American team. Finally, that brings us to Williams, who are somewhat of an unknown quantity as we head into the next few years. Originally a family-driven team, the Williams family ceased their involvement in Formula 1 during the 2020 season, and Williams was bought out by investment firm Dorilton Capital. It's likely that a stagnant Williams team could remain at the back of the grid. However, the investment from Dorilton and the team's link to Mercedes could mean that the team has a path to redemption ahead of them. Both Williams drivers I've selected are pretty controversial, and this was the driver pairing I was least certain about, but here goes. The first 2025 Williams driver is 2019 Formula 2 champion Nick De Vries. De Vries has led a haphazard motorsport career up until this point, with race wins in series ranging from Formula Renault to GP3 and Le Mans prototype endurance races. However, he's been a long-term Formula 1 hopeful, first for McLaren's Young Driver Academy and then for Mercedes, even testing the Mercedes W11 as part of the 2020 Young Drivers Test. The story I've predicted of De Vries in Formula 1 is a strange and unlikely one. After the shock departure of Lewis Hamilton in 2022, De Vries is hastily alongside George Russell on a 1-year contract for 2023. Despite decent results, his fellow Dutchman Max Verstappen is too promising for Mercedes to ignore, and De Vries is demoted to Williams for 2024, where he will remain in 2025. De Vries will be turning 30 in 2025, and his unlikely Formula 1 career will probably come to an end sooner rather than later, despite his skill, backing and experience. My next prediction is perhaps the boldest one in this video. Jamie Chadwick will be racing for Williams in 2025, becoming the first female Formula 1 driver to compete in a Grand Prix weekend since Giovanna Amati in 1992. Chadwick was the inaugural W Series champion in 2019 and has had the role of Williams development driver since the same year. While her junior series results outside W Series have been uninspiring, with 4th place and a win in the 2020 Formula 3 Asia Championship being the highlight, I think Chadwick will continue to progress as a consistent and versatile driver, with her signing for the inaugural season of the Extreme E Championship in 2021. Chadwick being in a Formula 1 seat in 2025 is certainly a long shot, but nothing is impossible in the world of Formula 1. Those were my predictions for the Formula 1 grid of 2025, and it's fair to say they were pretty contentious. As always, if you have any other thoughts, please feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'm sure the comment section will be hotly debated in this video. Apologies for the long wait in between videos. At over 3,500 words, this is my longest video script yet, and holidays over the festive period have resulted in more issues with the creation process as usual. We hit 500 subscribers just after the new year, which is a fantastic milestone for the channel, and I'd like to thank you all for contributing to this achievement. Lastly, remember to check out the AS19 channel for more fantastic Formula 1 feeder series content. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.